We're doing phenomenal tonight. What is the news roundup from the stock market? The Trump tariffs impacts the markets. The doubling of US tariffs on steel and aluminum imports of 50% took effect today, raising concerns about the production delays for global manufacturers, automakers, for many people, the increasing of the household business purchases. A lot of stuff is going on. Gold has risen precipitously in the last couple of days. Stock performance is kind of indexed, a kind of mixed. The S&P and Nasdaq slightly up today. Nvidia chip makers really doing well. The Dow Jones really has gotten hit up a little bit. Investors are optimistic about the potential US trade negotiation, but until something happens, and until an agreement is made, there's going to be a lot of chaos for the next few weeks. We have some consumer spending and retail consumer spending weakened in May, with JP Morgan reporting a drop to 1.8% in growth from 2.8 in April. Dollar Tree forecasted a 50% profit decline for Q2 due to tariffs. I mean, that is a huge, huge loss. That's why you get all those products from a different country, and they ended up paying for that. That's, to me, is going to want to bring stuff back to the U.S. Family Dollar. So, what other news? Interest rates are still at 4.3%. We are the only country or the only like region that has not dropped our interest rates. Korea, 2.75. The EU has already dropped their interest rates. We're still at 4.3 with no end in sight. Stock pick analysts are recommending Netflix is one of those companies that I'm looking at. Uh, and this is a company I'm kind of want to look at, Pagaya Technologies. It has had a really good day today. Pretty much the stock market has been really in a no man's world, but even though it's been in a no man's world, it has still gone up. Actually, quite shockingly. But we're gonna see like what can effects can have in the market this week, and a lot of it's gonna be still tariff driven. All these economic barriers that are happening with other countries are not going to get resolved until there is some conclusion to this tariff. We want a level playing field. US imports, you think of this, you come here to the United States, you have companies, Japanese companies, Chinese cars, but you go to other countries, you don't see American vehicles, American made products. And this is what President Trump is trying to do, is level the playing field. I want to take a look at a few stocks that I've been looking at today, and actually just kind of look for a little move here. Let me see how we get this. I'm gonna move this. Always fun when you got to do this live. All right, I'm gonna go share my screen with you guys. All right. You guys are looking right now at our interest rates. If you could see this big drop here, like look at this where we were at. These are interest rates all the way from 2009. Okay, less than 1%. I mean, if you have a mortgage from 2012, 2015, 16, 20, 21, 22, I would not be selling my house. I mean, it is absolutely ludicrous you're doing that. This is the big indicator what's happened here. Our rates are still at a 4.3. This is called the effective federal rate, federal fund rate. I can't even talk. This is called the effective federal fund rate. And right here, we are seeing that this huge climb in interest rate has really stopped a lot of the labor a lot of job hiring, a lot of investing. I know a lot of people who have invested in real estate that are really on the sidelines waiting for rates to come, or uh, the prices of houses are just ridiculous. You can't even cash flow in some of these areas if you're going by the 1% rule. Now, if you get creative with Airbnb or multi use type of rentals, that makes sense. I've seen a lot of people in the coastal areas, such as California, New York, high end markets like that, where many of their landlords are just renting, instead of renting a house, they're just renting the room. So a lot of people are just making their money like that, almost like a dormitory. But you look at that. Let's look at other stocks here. I want to look at some stock movers here. So let's go here. I'm gonna go down the list that I have it here. Let's go. I have a lot of friends that invest in ETFs. One of my favorite ones is the SPY. After the SPY, the VOO, which is the Vanguard S&P 500 ETF, is another one that I do like. I'm gonna go here in a candlestick chart because I read easier this way. So to me is, if you've ever read music, I look at stocks like a musical chart. And this is how I do it. Let's draw right here. I'm seeing some play right here. And I'm gonna do one right down here so you guys can see. Okay. Here's a brief. If you've ever read music, to me, this is like a melisma. This long descending pattern right here is like a melisma. But also, if you're looking at the VOO, it is one that controls the 500 best companies in the S&P 500, and it tracks that pattern. And what it does is, if you look at this, this is what's known as a V pattern. It's not perfect, but this is known as a V pattern. Many people believe that this is a V pattern type of correction. If this stock or this ETF passes this 560, I could see where we could be in above, or maybe possibly going to a bullish pattern until it passes this point right here. I'm optimistically bullish. If the VOO fails to reach this 560 or just keeps going down, we're going back down to the 450, 460 mark. That is not a good thing. If you're in this play, either have stop losses in play, or I will be playing with protective puts on this one, on the SPY. VOO is, if you in this ETF, is one of my favorites actually. So it's so a lot of people who think I'm just SPY QQQ guy, I'm not. So I love that one. Rivian, let's look at Rivian. Kind of gotten beat up a little bit. I talked about this one early in the year. I feel like many people are going to use Rivian as an alternative to invest in another electric company that's not Tesla. So Rivian has an advantage. One thing I like about Rivian is I want to look at the partnership that it has with Amazon. Amazon has many of the Rivian vans and vehicles in like the in Seattle, in LA, New York. They have a fleet of Rivian vehicles. This is why I like this company. I want to see if their partnership with Amazon continues to be strengthened, and if more orders are going to be made for their vehicles. If that's the case, I could see this stock just pulling up to the $50 range, possibly 70, but that is a long-term play. I'm not a stock whisperer. I'm just an opinionator. So I'm looking at this stock as a possibly, if you're looking at a stock, a $14 stock, that's like a meal for some of you here. This is a stock for me, is I'll be looking for either a pullback down to this area here, this $12.85. If it comes back down, I'm looking to possibly add this to my portfolio. I like Rivian. I like some of the stuff they'd have, but they are losing a lot of money, and that's something you have to be keen on. Bond news, I'm gonna skip that. Let's go Johnson and Johnson. Johnson and Johnson. I love the Johnson family because I'm a New York Jets fan, and the Johnson family owns the New York Jets. So this is a company that I think is, if you're looking for long term, you're looking for dividend, if you're looking for a company that's gonna be stable, this is one of those plays. It is office highs. You're looking at the 170 was the high previously to this a couple of months ago, but also several even last year it hit that high and it's come back down. But this is a stock that I'll be looking at if you like good companies that are going to be around, that people use their products. This is one of those staples that I believe is going to be around. I like the Johnson and Johnson family and the company, so kudos to them. And J&J, I like you. Let's look at let's look at IBIT shares. So I have a lot of friends that have been asking me about the IBIT shares, which is controls the a Bitcoin. It monitors Bitcoin. I like this stock. You hear the president, you hear the president's sons talking about Bitcoin, why they want to invest in cryptocurrency. I believe that cryptocurrency is the future. For many people who have been almost beholden to the system of the banks, especially for Christians who have been attacked, maybe demonetized, uh, really removed from a lot of platforms, and why banks, even you have certain banks that wouldn't lend to certain people because if you were in a Christian group. That's why the alternative for crypto is growing, because the banks have played judge and jury, and really they deserve to pay for what they've done. And I'm investing more in crypto more than ever. I'm not dumping my whole portfolio in it, but I'm also looking at where could this be in the future. I feel like cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, XRP, XLE, many of these other coins are really going to be are where Visa, MasterCard, and Discover were in the 1980s. Excuse me, American Express, not Discover, but Visa, MasterCard, and American Express were in the 80s, where many people were like these new IPOs that really took off. I'm looking at this as a way to hedge over different banks. I'd rather invest in Bitcoin or in one of these ETFs than investing in a bank like a Wells Fargo, Bank of America, Truist, so on and so forth. iShares, this one to me is pretty cheap. It's $59. This is where I believe, and this is personal opinion. I'm an opinionator. I'm not speaking facts. I'm just an opinionator. I believe that this stock at this price is where the Qs were in 2008, 2009, 2010, in that same $40 to $50, $60 range. This is, I'm also like deja vu. And as a trader and someone who's been investing for 18 years, I look at these patterns and say to myself, okay, this looks like something I've seen before. This is a company here that I'm very looking into. Of course, the president's cabinet, they're talking about this. You should be investing in what they're talking about, and this Bitcoin, Ethereum, many other coins there. You guys, and I'll be looking into that. I bit. Let's go into CrowdStrike. CrowdStrike has had an interesting few days. So CrowdStrike, if you look at this pattern right here, it almost looks like a W, and it has taken off this pattern right here. Now it's taken a reprieve today. It's down 28 bucks, but it has shot up over the last few. From 429 it went up to 480. So nice point move, a 50-point move. But you're looking from this point here, from the 298, it has just boom taken off. When it fell, I want you to look at these patterns. When this stock fell, it hit exactly where there was a gap that has not yet been filled. This gap right here was filled when this stock dropped, and it filled it twice. This one is one of those that you've missed this ride already, but of course, like in the stock market, the river always flows. There will be other deals here. Crowd was a good one there. Netflix, again, bullish. This stock, I've been bullish on this stock since November of last year. When it was at 700, I made a video and said, this stock is going to 1200. People made fun, they laughed, not because I'm a stock whisperer, only because what Netflix is doing to change the game for live sports venues. You have to look at what they're doing with live sports venues. They're going to change the game, and a lot of legacy media, the ABCs, the NBCs, the CBS, will be extinct in a few years with all the lying they have done, with all the misinformation they have created, and the distrust that people have with those legacy medias. I could see companies like a Netflix really taking over a lot of the live sports venues because people don't want to watch local news anymore. I'm really believing that. So stock is at 1239. If this stock does a pullback, it'll probably go into the 1060 range if it does a pullback, but that is a precipitous one, but you have to respect that. Also, it a gap here, it did fill it, but I'm also weary that this could come right back into that 165 range if this stock drops. So I'm looking at that. Netflix has been on the radar. AMD. AMD, again, I have drawn this pattern here. uh, this pattern has not broken. So to me, AMD is still in a descending bearish pattern. Yes, it has gone up. Yes, it has really done well. But until it passes this range for me, it's got to pass the 120, 125 range for me to consider this a bullish play. Because right now is, if you're following, it's just doing a descending pattern. I mean, I'm looking at it and I'm like, yeah, I drew a right one there. So any of you chartists can see it here that, yeah, this one hasn't broken, but I'm also looking at this right here. If this tails off, it could form a bull flag pattern. If it's a bull flag pattern, I'm gonna be looking at it. So AMD, Google, let's go with Google, Alphabet again. Eh, and Google's just been It's just been they've been facing a lot of criticism. A lot of criticism. I believe that Google's gonna lose market share to like Chat GPT, Grok AI, Perplexity, and every other search engine that's using AI. The GPUs, the it to me is it's gonna be a game changer. And Google, if they don't innovate here, because they have the biggest search engines right now, which is Google search and YouTube, biggest search engines. I think AI is going to give them a run for their money in the next 5 years if they don't evolve, unless Google integrates their Gemini system into their search engine. That might be a difference. So I'm actually looking at Google uh, as cautiously, see if they're gonna lead, but I don't know about that. Leadership issues. Let's see. Let's go. EA Sports Palantir. Another one that I like. It's in my portfolio. I have this stock. Again, I'm bullish on this one with all the military contracts that are being floating out there. I'm looking at Palantir. It's in my portfolio. I'm looking for a drop so I can add more to my portfolio. So, I mean, I don't know if it will, but let's see. There's got to be a short play in here. You have probably institutional investors that will probably want to buy it at the $85 range. $85 range, this thing is very attractive. A Palantir. Let's go with we got we got to talk about Nvidia, but do I? Yeah, let's go Nvidia. Nvidia, again, another stock in my portfolio. It's just kind of been chugging along. It looks like an inverted hammer right now. Uh, this might be hard for you guys to see, but it just hit this range right here. A lot of it's gonna be looking at what the Fed does. If Chairman Powell lowers rates, could be a game changer. Again, like I mentioned earlier, we're like the only country that hasn't lowered the rates. And if I was Donald Trump, I'd be frustrated too, because it's almost like it's done intentional to not help the United States people. The Federal Reserve should be acting, but instead they're being laggards, and really, it's more because they don't want to help Donald Trump. That's what it is. You look at that, and Nvidia is one of those stocks that, like I mentioned in one of my broadcasts, I believe that Nvidia is being used like a bargaining chip, just like Henry Kissinger used the petrodollar to promote safety in the world. Nvidia is really uh, a bargaining chip for those who want in on the AI boom. And I think this is the robotics and stuff that's going to go very viral. I think it's going to just going to go great places here. Nvidia, again, my baby Tesla. All right, Tesla. Tesla right now, last few days have so I'm in the stock. I'm also in the option. Uh my option is still profitable. I have October options, and I've basically been riding this wave here. I like doing trend trading, so I've been riding a wave. I'm still positive on my option, but when you lose like $9 in value, yeah, it sucks. Per per contract. So it's I'm still riding the wave. I'm actually uh waiting. I might ride it out through earnings. So that's kind of my thought process. Earnings is when is earnings? Okay, next earnings is in 55 days. So what's at the end of July? Let's see what this stock does. So earnings report 55 days. My option in October, I might write it. I don't know. If it's end of July, yeah. Yeah, I think it's end of July or mid July. Tesla, I'm still riding this one. I'm rolling with this one. What else? Meta. I am bullish on Meta. If Meta stays above this line right here, why this one? If Meta could stay above here, I'm totally going in on Meta. I'm actually believing this stock could go to $1,000. Why? Not because I think that it deserved to be $1,000, but you have to look at what Mark Zuckerberg is doing. I mean, they just signed an agreement with Constellation Energy to provide nuclear power. So you look at something like that, which probably will be completed, I believe, in 2027. Meta's gonna be they're really into the AI boom, and I think I wish I had a crystal ball to see who's gonna be the player, who's gonna be the big player, and just put all my money in it. But you don't know. But in this one, you can't count Mark Zuckerberg out. I know we talk about Sam Altman, we talk about Elon Musk, we talk about all these yada yada yada. But I think the sleeper in the AI boom is gonna be Mark Zuckerberg. I really do. Mark Zuckerberg, I might not agree with everything he says, but I do respect his business acumen. And he's always been a leader in the next thing. Social media, that was a big thing. He was an innovator in that. Granted, some of it was borrowed loosely, but you got to give him credit. Constellation Energy, Nucor, all these energy companies, Peabody, be on the lookout. We need power for these data centers. We're not going to do it off electric grid and wind farm, none of that. We need nuclear power because these are really, these are GPUs. These are GPUs. They're not the regular servers that we were accustomed to. Those regular servers that we have in Virginia, all those are 1.0. We got GPUs now. So they're going to take a lot of power. So that's all for like stocks, and I'm looking for other stuff today. But the stock market really is not going to do not really going to make movement, and any good news is just going to drive this stock market up. Really, it is. Let's see some other, what other key things we have here. Yahoo Finance. Just, Musk keeps hammering Trump tax bill. Whatever. It's not gonna be perfect. Uh, you wonder, you got to get 300 people to agree on all this, and good luck on that. US stock market right now is the futures are down. We're looking at the S&P futures down a little bit, Dow Jones down, Nasdaq. Oil slips on US stockpile build. Saudi Arabia cut price cuts. So I think oil has slipped a little bit, but Dow futures down 30. eh, that could change. Right here, this one right here, I saw this IPO stablecoin issue, Circle Prices IPO at $31 a share. This is another one that I would look into just putting money into. I mean, stablecoin, Bitcoin right now, some others, some Ripple have gone through SEC, like their rigorous, uh, their rigorous, whatever they do, like their process of going through like becoming an IPO and all that jazz. But they really just, I'm looking at this as a potential, like this is would be like money that I would play with, that I'm okay losing. If you got 1,000, you got 10,000, that is not gonna hurt you financially. I would be looking into stocks like these, crypto, something like that. But really, I like that. Of course, blah blah blah. CNBC biased, of course. Bloomberg. Let's see. Trump signs travel waiver. We seen that. Uh, let's see. But so we never know what the stock market is gonna do. A lot of it is sometimes being an investor is having faith. Having faith in what the investments that you put your hard-earned money to will grow. Well, in order for it to grow, you have to put your money in good soil. Well, good soil in the stock market is looking for companies that are profitable first, companies that have longevity will be second, and companies that have a competitive advantage. So, what do I mean by that? Competitive advantage, you look at companies like a Coca Cola, Pepsi, or a Hershey's, or something like that. They have their ingredients are locked in. The only thing that changes for them is the price of the commodity. That's really a competitive advantage. Now, when you look at technology, they have to innovate every single year. What they made last year is no longer relevant. How many of you have electronics from 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago that's like, oh, wow, this was the latest stuff? But technology is following Moore's law and it keeps doubling. So, as you see stuff like that, it's good to put your money in investments that are going to produce good dividends. So I like Coca-Cola, I like Pepsi, I like companies like Johnson and Johnson, Oracle, Microsoft, Apple. Those are good companies that have longevity. Now you look at probably potential players that are up and coming. That's when you start looking at Nvidia, Tesla, Palantir falls in that category. These IBIT shares, these new companies coming out with a stable coin. So that's the stuff you look at is where could I invest my money for return on my investment? That's the key is ROI. If you're investing in the stock market, one of the things is to have patience. You need to have a 1 to 3 year plan, a 1 to 5 year plan, and a 1 to 20 year plan. If you start looking at your aunties and uncles, and if they're living to their late 80s and 90s, you're probably gonna live that long too. So if you're 40, you're 50, you're 55, that's young. That's young. That's young. Don't look at like you're over the hill. Your body might feel a certain way, but your mind is still sharp. So never forget that you can still make a difference in your investments. Even you start, if you're 55, you take the next 10 years, man, the things that you could do if you put money away will be incredible. And I'm looking forward to like keep giving you information on stocks and real estate because that's what I do. Many of you have followed me throughout the years, have seen what I've done. And I'm always looking for opportunities to grow. I'm always looking at opportunities to improve my trading, improve my investing. I'm always learning. And that's one of the things that I love, that I surround myself with people who are smarter than me. And those people really have poured into me and really taught me a lot of the industry secrets, or they given me the keys to the vault. And I've taken that key, opened the door, I'm taking out every single nutrient, every single part of wisdom that they have, and just really use that in my investment. When I was first starting to trade, I was more like the day trader, and I lost a lot of money day trading. I made money and I lost money. It was never consistent. But when I started being more patient and being more long term, I started seeing more of a bigger return. In 2012, I started with my first investment of real estate. I started with a lease option, then from there it grew to flipping houses, to having rentals. So I love investing in real estate, and I love investing in the stock market. And those are the things that you start seeing that uh, can really help your portfolio, help your future. And you never know when those investments could be the legacy that you leave for your family. Many of you here want to live and leave um, like a legacy. And sometimes that's through money. And there's nothing wrong with that because it's biblical to the wise man leaves an inheritance to his children's children. And I want to do that. I want to be wise and a good steward with my money. And I pray that each and every one of you have a phenomenal week and happy trading until next time.